There's a few new Nintendo Switch 2 news stories I want to discuss with you all today, starting with a big milestone that Switch 2 just crossed in Japan. We now have some official sales data on the console units itself and some hardware topping the charts. We then have a full 7-minute plus trailer for Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 that didn't answer everybody's questions, but it does do a nice job at showing you what you're getting into with each particular adventure here. And if you're very well versed in these games, you might not care about it as much. We still have some unanswered questions around the Switch 2 version for the game, but a good look at the games that are set to release this October on the 2nd nonetheless. Then we have a really exciting update for Metroid Prime 4 because it appears that the box may have leaked out early, and when translated, we have some very interesting info around what might be taking place here as a key story point. Hollow Knight Silksong seems to absolutely be crushing it in terms of its total copies sold so far, and we have some exact comments from the developers around the difficulty of this game. If you are somebody who's playing through it, you probably know that difficulty has been a hot button issue around this game, and rightfully so we'll unpack those comments. And finally, we're going to take a look at Sonic Racing CrossWorlds and some Metacritic scores that have now shown up as the reviews are going live for this thing, and generally pretty positive. So we'll talk about whether or not this may be a kart racer you want to keep your eyes on personally, but we'll break down all of this info. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And we're going to first kick this off right over at My Nintendo News, where you can see the latest milestone that Switch 2 is now passed, where it says, Japanese charts, Nintendo Switch 2 has surpassed 2 million console units sold. And you have here the latest Japanese box video game software and hardware charts have come through, and there's no change at the top for Mario Kart World. Nintendo's karting game sold an additional 38,000 copies this week, bringing the total physical sales to 1.7 million. On the hardware side of things, it was the Nintendo Switch 2, which proved to be the best seller once again. Sales have now topped over 2 million in Japan. Here's the best-selling software and hardware in the land of the rising sun. And you have the software charts as follows. Mario Kart World sitting comfortably at the top spot, 38,000 copies sold. And I do believe that that is counting in those bundle pack-in editions, of course, which obviously it's going to be the best-selling Switch 2 game for the foreseeable future, as long as that is the option bundle pack-in game, and probably even past that. But they are switching that right before the holiday season, interestingly enough, to Pokemon Legends ZA, so we will probably see that one climb up the charts pretty quickly. But until that happens, I do think Mario Kart World is going to sit at the top of all these different charts over the course of the rest of the year and into when those bundles ultimately get phased out entirely. Borderlands 2 behind it, selling 13,000. Donkey Kong Bonanza for Switch 2 selling 10,500, and then kind of going on down the list, we still have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe trucking along at 4,000 copies sold over there just in the last month. And then you do have hardware sales followed by lifetime sales, so an additional 44,278 Switch 2 units were sold out of Japan last month, and you do have 2 million total lifetime Switch 2s now being moved just out of Japan alone. So it will be really interesting to see how this sales momentum continues for Nintendo. We are still approaching their first holiday season with this hardware being available on the market. I do think that there's some fair criticism out there that they could do a lot more to really bolster their first year of a software lineup, because we are in this true transition period where some of the software we're excited about for the holiday season, like Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends ZA, you don't have to own a Switch 2 to play those pieces of software. And outside of Bonanza and Mario Kart World being the two flagship Switch 2 titles, obviously we have Kirby Air Riders coming and stuff, but yeah, there's going to be a whole section of fans that maybe don't feel like it's just quite time yet to jump into the Switch 2 ecosystem. Although that said, I think you're going to see a very big increase in total sales numbers, and probably hard to find casually on retail store shelves as we approach the holiday season. And the reality is the console still has a ton of good momentum, but it's also not a Switch 1 launch year software lineup where you did have Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey launching in legitimately the same year back in 2017. So it'll be kind of cool to watch this and see where the sales numbers go. If they really continue in this fastest selling console ever, breaking all records direction, or if there's a little bit of a correction with, until Nintendo really puts out the Switch 2 exclusive software that the masses are waiting for, will we see a little bit of a slower start post-holiday season when it comes to Switch 2 console sales. So we'll definitely be watching and monitoring that. But 2 million units sold out of Japan alone at this point in time, definitely strong numbers from Nintendo. Moving on from there, we do have a Mario Galaxy 1+2 overview trailer. It became immediately clear to me as I was watching through this trailer that yes, very much Nintendo is putting these as Switch 1 games first, and we didn't know this because legitimately the box art that they showed us to promote the games was a Switch 1 box art. In fact, they're not actually bringing to retail a Switch 2 edition, they are just selling a Switch 1 game, and they are also saying you can get a free update if you own it on Switch 2 or play it on your Switch 2. Well, this entire trailer that is a 7+ minute overview trailer is actually just in 1080p. It is all Switch 1 footage. None of this comes from the Switch 2 version of the game, and we do actually know to expect some upgrades to the Switch 2 version, like 4K resolution, potentially HDR. I don't know that they've really confirmed that entirely yet, but one thing that was new in this trailer that you might want to know about is this assist mode that is now built in, and it looks like Mario's life pretty much at all times double from 3 hits available all the way to 6. And they also highlight, of course, that a player 2 is able to hop into the game and assist Mario by kind of stunning enemies, picking up coins and star bits and all of that kind of stuff. We know that this game is also going to have pointer mouse controls, or I mean, presumably you can move around like what you would aim with the Wiimote, that star to pick up star bits and everything. You can move that around with mouse controls on the Switch 2. We haven't seen any of that in action yet. And what's funny about it is, since this game is such a quick turnaround and already out October 2nd, we really don't have too much more time to learn about any of the Switch 2 features in the lead up to this game. So will Nintendo really market this towards Switch 2 users as a must-own game at all? Or are people really just going to go pick this up for Switch 1, and if you happen to own a Switch 2, kind of take advantage of those visual upgrades? That's kind of what I'm seeing here. This is much more of a promotional type of deal for Nintendo to resell some of their classic Mario 3D games, one of them missing this entire time from 15 years ago, which is Galaxy 2, that we have not had an easy way to play. If you own 3D Mario All-Stars, obviously the combo pack is less valuable to you. You can buy them individually at 40 bucks a pop, or together at that $70 price point. But yeah, it seems like Nintendo's kind of in the mindset that this is going towards people who own a Switch. If you have a Switch 2, better visuals, but then it's really geared towards people who haven't experienced these back in the day, or just really want to replay them, because they are truly giving them kind of like a first look overview as if these are brand new games that we haven't seen before. And that's kind of the information they're revealing about them. Also, fun bonus story, just in case if you care about the icons and things for your Nintendo Switch online profile, there will be a whole host of different Galaxy themed icons, which a lot of these are pretty cool, coming up in the following dates, like the September 25th through the 2nd. We're gonna have that Mario and Yoshi one on the Galaxy style from the cover art that looks really cool, and lots of different icons here that are actually some of the better ones I've seen in a while. And then moving on from there, we have to talk about this next Go Nintendo article, which is pretty cool because we'll just read it together. You can see yourself. Rumor: Metroid Prime 4 Beyond box might point to time travel. Samus time, Samus place. And this is obviously a pretty big deal if this is true. Now, something like this could be doctored, but it does seem to be, upon reading all of the Japanese text and people translating it, that it seems like this is probably legit. So we have here, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is coming to Switch and Switch 2 on December 4th, 2025, which is just a few months away. We've only seen a few trailers for the game and some gameplay footage as well, but it's clear that there's a lot more Nintendo is holding back on this game. It remains to be seen when and where Nintendo will pull back the curtain a bit more, but it seems like a tidbit might have been spoiled by the Big N's own marketing. And as you can see there, the box above has popped up in retail spaces at Japan, and it appears to be the legit final design for the game. While the front is nothing new, the back includes some text that seems to reveal that Samus may not be traveling to just new locations, but new times as well. A translation of the text on the back of the box is as follows: "With the hope vested in you and your new powers, return home from an unknown planet, having been transported across space and time to the unknown planet Viros. Samus Aran must carve a path with her newfound powers in order to return to her original world." So fans are pointing to the mention of space and time as confirmation that Samus will be time traveling in this latest installment of the franchise. Whilst this might seem a bit outlandish at first, it's apparently an idea the dev team has had for over a decade now. And I do remember some previous looks at interviews and things like that, where they had referenced things like maybe time travel in a Metroid Prime game or just Metroid in general. And this would be a really cool detail that Nintendo could do, or Retro rather, could do a lot of really cool stuff with the story plot of this game with time travel involved. I mean, I know the bike is divisive online. I think the bike for Samus is cool. I'm more hyped for this game following the latest trailer. Apparently not everybody feels that way, but you throw in a really good story with some time travel. Samus trying to get back to her own timeline and has to use her new abilities to do so. There could be some really cool, deep lore tied into the roots of Metroid for this thing, and they can make really cool references. I mean, would you meet another Samus from another timeline potentially? And is that something that could happen here and Samus helps you from that timeline? Are we going full Marvel cinematic multiverse here when it comes to time travel and stuff like that, or is it going to be more limited in scope? Who knows? But while we're waiting on Nintendo to really give us any kind of more details for this game, because I will agree that while the trailer itself was awesome, pretty quick, no narration, no stay tuned for this date where we take a better look at the game. Like, Nintendo isn't really marketing it at this point in time in a big way, but I do have a theory that will change as we get closer to that December 4th date, because we do still have some time between now and December, and that is definitely possible that we see marketing efforts kind of ramp up in the lead up to it. But if time travel's one big central story plot point that we have not seen the details of yet, I personally am here for it. And pretty cool to see that more or less confirmed from the box art that seems to be floating around in Japanese retailers. Okay, next up we have Hollow Knight Silksong, apparently about a third of the way to the original's total sales. And you have here, Hollow Knight Silksong was one of the most wanted video games of all time, and players flocked to digital storefronts to download a copy, causing some of them to temporarily crash due to the overwhelming traffic. I can attest to that. All the stores went down. Switch 2 eShop rather, that I was trying to purchase it from, absolutely crashed entirely. Now it has emerged that the game is already a third of the way to the original game Hollow Knight's total sales, with PC platform Steam leading the charge. According to rough data, Hollow Knight Silksong has sold around 500,000 copies on PlayStation and Switch, as well as reaching 1.5 million downloads on Xbox Game Pass. Team Cherry has yet to announce official sales numbers, but undoubtedly they are huge. And the idea being that between Steam, PlayStation, and the Xbox downloads and Switch 2, we are sitting at potentially roughly 5 million copies sold of Silksong so far, which is clearly massive whenever you are an indie developer. Literally 3 main people that work on this game. Absolutely insane. And the fact that Hollow Knight made it to 15 million copies sold, also insane. And the follow-up and the hype was real around Silksong, and it seems like it's translating into some very nice sales for Team Cherry so far. That said, one common complaint you might have heard about online is the difficulty of this game. We do actually have some comments and clarification for why the devs designed it as difficult as it is. And you have here Hollow Knight Silksong dev comment on the game's difficulty and why it's tougher than the original. We have Gibson shared the following: the important thing for us is that we allow you to go off the path. So one player may choose to follow it directly to its conclusion, and another may choose to constantly divert from it and find all the other things that are waiting and all the other ways and routes. Silksong has some moments of steep difficulty, but part of allowing a higher level of freedom within the world means you have choices all the time about where you're going and what you're doing. Even if players are struggling with the boss fight, Gibson doesn't see this as a problem. That's because you have ways to mitigate the difficulty via exploration or learning, or even circumventing the challenge entirely rather than getting stonewalled. Hollow Knight was far from a cakewalk, but Silksong seems to be another step up in difficulty. But because of how different Hornet is, there needs to be adjustments this time around. Gibson said that Hornet is inherently faster and more skillful than the Knight, so even the base level enemy had to be more complicated, more intelligent. Palin also noted the basic Ant Warrior is built from the same moveset as the original Hornet boss, the same core set of dashing, jumping, and dashing down at you, plus we added the ability to evade and check you. In contrast to the Knight's enemies, Hornet's enemies had to have more ways of catching her as she tries to move away. Team Cherry didn't want to scale back Hornet's powers. Instead, the studio decided to bring everyone else up to match her level. And it is noting here that Hollow Knight Silksong did actually receive an update that nerfed a couple of early bosses slightly, and there was an update that pushed through for that. There was also an update that pushed through for some more bug fixes, but this game is hard. This is as somebody who is very into the From Software suite of software with Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, Sekiro, literally platinumed all those games. Silksong's legitimately hard. And I can say, just wrapping up Act 1 and getting into the beginning of Act 2, that yes, this game has absolutely pushed the limits of what I'm even capable of, reaction time and controller button combination wise. Like the run back to the last judge, while I'm not complaining about it. I mean, once you find a quick path around there, it doesn't actually take too long, but just the fact that they expect you to do that, the skill it takes to jump and platform through and then get back to a boss that is really challenging, and you have to perfectly learn their moveset and be able to dodge on a whim in any direction and have a pretty flawless run to walk away victorious. Like, yeah, they're not holding back in the difficulty department here, but it is interesting to hear kind of their mindset, almost a Elden Ring style mindset where, hey, the world, yes, you do have to go in one particular direction ultimately, but you can go do a lot of other things to actually find new items and level up your equipment and tools and stuff like that. And so you will naturally become more powerful if you kind of go do all the side stuff instead of sticking to the main story. That said, at some point you're going to come head to head with that main story, and those boss fights are pretty ridiculous, but I am having a blast with it personally. I am not deterred by the difficulty. In fact, I will be finishing this game to completion, maybe 100% run one day. I don't know if I'll have time for that now with Galaxy 2 being around the corner, but I'm really enjoying my time with it. But yes, it's a very hard game and selling very well, and it was interesting to hear the developers add some context to why they felt the need to basically deliver more challenge with Hornet as the character. So we have to live up to Hornet's level, essentially. Okay, from here to close this out, we have Sonic Racing CrossWorlds scores 82 on Metacritic. This is the PS5 review, but you do have the reviews have come pouring in for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds rather, and Sega's latest kart racer featuring the Blue Blur has proven to be a hit with critics. The game scored 82 on Metacritic with 41 published reviews. It should be noticed that the reviews seem to be only for the PlayStation 5 version of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. There aren't any reviews for the Nintendo Switch version. That being said, it scored well in a wide variety of courses and an excellent soundtrack. Here's some sample of the reviews, and just to kind of read the high points of like Game Informer and GameSpot, you have Sonic Racing CrossWorlds offers some exciting twists on the tried and true kart racing formula, making for a streamlined experience that wastes no time getting you into action. Though there's substantially less content and replayability than its primary contemporary, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is concise and effective in its mission, offering the most well-rounded kart racer of the year. GameSpot gave it a 7 out of 10 and said altogether, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is a solid package. The single-player modes, meta goals like collecting gear and vehicle parts, and wealth of customization options to experiment with different play styles make it easy to recommend for players who like their kart racing with a little more mechanical complexity. Even with slight underwhelming online offerings, it's easy to see how Sonic Racing CrossWorlds has plenty of road ahead of it. And it does seem like this is going to be a game that will lean heavily into the character roster expansions. There's actually been some leaks around that. I won't reveal the characters in case in case you're looking forward to finding out certain ones. They have not been announced yet, but there's going to be some cool crossover characters in this kart racer for Sega. My problem with this game releasing this year, and I may still check it out and at least check out, I believe there's a free demo right now. My problem with it is we have so many kart racers. I'm still looking forward to picking up Kirby Air Riders. This is a $70 release. I had just got done playing through most of the single player stuff and time that I'm going to spend in Mario Kart World. Besides when now friends come over, we'll boot up that one, but it's not going to be one of my go-to games for single player stuff at the moment. But there's just a lot of kart racers in recent memory, and this is one to add to the list, but reviewing good nonetheless. So Sega and Sonic fans may want to look into this one, but let me know in the comments down below what you make of all the different stories we covered today. What do you think about the Switch 2 surpassing 2 million units sold in Japan so far year to date? Are you excited for Super Mario Galaxy 1+2, and will you be picking it up on your Switch or Switch 2? What do you think about the prospect of time travel for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and do you think that will be a big story plot point? And how are you feeling about Silksong if you picked it up? Is it too difficult? Are you enjoying your time with it? What do you think of the sales numbers of it? And are you personally potentially going to pick up Sonic Racing CrossWorlds when it launches? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell, And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.